All right, we're all here, so let's begin with the auditor's office. Steve, are you available?
Hey, good morning, Commissioner Trask. Good morning, Commissioner Netherland and Commissioner Studi. Happy Monday. Thanks for allocating a little bit of time for us this morning to present to you. Actually, I'm going to have Leo present it to you. The recommended upgrades for two of our members of the financial services team that we've been working to have upgraded to senior financial analysts. And Leo, if you're set, I'll turn it over to you to share the details.
I am. Good morning, commissioners. Over the last several months, the auditor's office has been working with HR to reclass two of our financial analysts to senior financial analysts, and they have recommended moving them to the higher position, and we submitted that in the briefing materials, and it works out about, for the rest of the year, about $1,100 for each employee. And then with benefits, it's a total of about $2,700. And we would be very appreciative if the board would approve those recommendations. And both employees have been long lasting employees, and they're very integral to my staff and team, and they basically make me look good.
So Leah, are you saying that all in about 5,400 for the rest of the year on both the salaries and benefits side?
No, it'd be a total of 2,700 for both employees.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
And Mary, you have reviewed this and recommend and are telling us that it fits within the parameters of what a reclass is according to policy?
Yes, and I would just like to point out on the briefing sheet, it says approved, and I just want to be clear, HR doesn't approve reclasses, we just make recommendations. So attached are my recommendation memorandums, not any approval from HR.
Well, based on your recommendations and the fact that they actually fit within the reclass, I'm supportive.
I am as well.
Yep, as am I.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Leo.
Nice job, Leo.
Oh, thank you.
So next steps for this process go to the regular agenda. Is that correct?
Yep.
If we have other stuff, I don't mind putting it on for tomorrow if we have other things that are already going to go on. Just so you know. Doesn't have to, but I don't mind. I'm just saying.
All right.
You're lucky Diane's not here today, Leo.
That's why I said it. Are you kidding me?
Yes. All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks again, Leo. All right, let's move on to the coroner's office. Jaime.
Good morning, commissioners.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So I'm asking for approval for our, it's a lift for our customers and a body rack and some bodied boards to finish off our walk-in cooler for this year. So the amount's $10,640, and that includes freight and tax.
From the department that asked for the least amount of all departments that we have in our county, I am completely supportive and ready to move forward.
I am as well. Thanks for pivoting on this, Jaime, from the budget discussion to getting it in now.
Yep, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. This is good. This will help you.
Yes, I'm ready to put everything here and be in one place.
Yeah, it not only helps you, but it also saves the county money. So I think it's pretty exciting.
That's true, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Martin, I saw your hand go up. Now it's down.
Oh, you said what I was going to say. I just wanted to put a quick shout out to our facility staff once again. They stepped up and prepared the new location for the coroner's office, and will be installing these things, and they just have done a great job. And thanks to Jaime for thinking outside the box to get these services covered within her own operations. She then has control over it, and we're not having to pay somebody else to do that type of work. So good job.
And thanks for thinking outside the box, Jaime. I was the one that caught that.
Yeah, not, as opposed to inside the cooler.
And thank you for facilities. You're right. Facilities have been great, and it's lovely to be right next door to them.
Agreed. Thanks again. All right. Now we're at Superior Court. I see Paddy.
Good morning, commissioners, and happy Monday after Oyster Fest. And I'm going to try, my goal here is to be as fast as Jaime. We are requesting approval to receive a $890,000 grant beginning 9 days ago to fund the therapeutic courts. If you will recall from our budget presentation last year, there was a PLR for the therapeutic courts. Approving this means we get to withdraw that and it goes away.
Yeah, this is awesome. Absolutely support this.
Same.
Yeah, excellent. You answered the question that I had about it. Happy to support, always happy to support receiving money.
Free money is a good thing. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. And you too, Paddy. All right, that was quick and relatively painless. All right, let's move on to, we've got the sheriff's office next. Do we have Chief Hanson on here?
Good morning, commissioners. Lieutenant Schoenberg.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Good. Chief Hanson's not available today. So this item is about the food service contract, which was briefed on about a month ago, I believe. And there was some concerns about going out to legal for going out for PDR. And we heard back from legal and they said we don't need to go out for bid. So we're just asking to approve this as it was proposed about a month ago.
Right, so it just goes up 62 cents. So
Correct.
$4.24 per meal, right?
That's correct. I think it's $4.24. And depending on what happens in the near future with outsourcing, that could vary the rates as well.
Lieutenant, thanks for briefing it. There's an annual estimated increase in here, but do you have a ballpark on what the annual total new cost would be?
If we outsource?
No. For the mill, it looks like it would be. Would come out to an increase of a little bit over $31,000. What's the total that you?
The total is about 250,000
before this or including this?
With the new contract.
Gotcha.
250,000.
Great, yeah. All right, I'm supportive as well.
Agreed.
All righty. It's a go. Thanks, Shane.
So Shane, I think that then the next step would be the corrections bringing it before the commissioners for formal approval in a regular meeting.
Sounds good.
All right. Public Works, Loretta.
Hello.
Hey.
Well, first up, commissioners, we have one action agenda item that we are requesting, and that is to execute a couple of contracts related to the SR 302 Victor Fish Barrier Removal Project. And Richard is here to provide some details. I think Richard is here to provide some details.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Richard, I hear you.
Okay, good. I don't know what was going on there. All right, good morning.
Morning.
Wow. As soon as I get my agenda up here. Okay. As Loretta said, the Department of Transportation has a culvert project on Highway 302, milepost 4.2 at Victor Creek. We have a 4-inch force main that goes over what is currently a 3-foot culvert, and they're going to remove that and put in a bridge type culvert, much like our county engineering and county road forces do. And so we need to remove that part. Part of this is, we need, of course, a design for the 100% drawings. And David Evans and Associates is who's working and doing the bulk of this design work for Department of Transportation. Is who we'd like to do that with. They gave us a bid of $39,900, acknowledging that it is a very conservative bid for that work, realizing that they're working with Department of Transportation. The other part of this is actually doing the work, and we'd like to have that done with the Department of Transportation's contractor, the successful low bid contractor, and our work that we would have done would be kept separate and paid for by us as part of that contract. So basically a two-step ask here or briefing for you for hopefully approval.
What's going to happen on the, is it going to, since it's going to go to bridge, is it going to create an incline? Is that going to create any type of issue for sanitary movement of waste? Or
no, it's a force main. It won't matter.
Okay, it is a force main. Okay, I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
No problem. And we do have 3 customers that this will affect, and we've reached out to, well, 2 of them, with the 3rd yet to be. I have not made contact, although I've been to their house a couple of times, and I will continue to go there until I do make contact. But just to kind of coordinate how we will maintain service for them during this project.
And commissioners, I know you're familiar, but for folks that might be listening in this morning, if they want to track the project, you can simply type in SR 302 and there will be an up-to-date history and background, timeline, maps, and also subscribe. So if folks are making this a regular commute, they might want to subscribe to updates for the project. But overall timeline, they are planning to begin work in the spring of 24 and complete next year.
Sounds good to me. Loretta, do we have a link to the WASDOT project page on our website anywhere? That might
We
make
do,
it easy.
yeah, we do not, but great suggestion, Commissioner.
Great suggestion.
Yeah.
Put it on the front page if we can, for people who want to access, so they don't have to look for it.
Yep. Will do.
All right, appreciate that. But I agree to this also.
Me as well.
Me as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
And then next up, we received a petition, well, actually an inquiry about what a road improvement district might amount to for Stonebriar Place. And Mike is here to share some preliminary observations with you. And I'll pull up a map. Are commissioners familiar with where Stonebriar is located?
I'm not.
All right.
I usually am, but I can't. I'm trying to think where it is.
Okay, I'll see if I can get that up too. It's off of Brockdale and Jensen Road, adjacent to Johns Creek.
Now that you said, I know where it is.
Okay. All right. So Brockdale here, Jensen Road here, and this is Stonebriar Place. All right, Mike, are you there?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So we got a request in for to look at Stonebriar as a RID. We have 21 residents and 20 of them has signed a petition. So we took a walk and looked at the road. The road is existing asphalt road. It's about 1,400 feet long, 21 feet wide. It needs some repairs, and that's probably why it was brought up. So we just run through some preliminary numbers. If we did the repairs and then did a asphalt overlay, it would be about $70,000 roughly. And divide that by the 21 residents, should be about $3,333 a piece. If you spread that out over 10 years, that would be $333 per year. So again, these are just preliminary numbers looking at. Since the existing surface is asphalt, what we could do is we could do the repairs and then do a double shot chip seal overlay, which would reduce the cost to about $32,000 total, so about half of what the asphalt was. And again, if it would be about $1,500 per resident, and over 10 years, it would be $152 per year. So it's real reasonable cost wise. We could we're going to set up a meeting with them and just kind of generally go over some of this. They've already reached out to a couple contractors. I think their concern is how much the contractor was wanting for such repairs. So we'll visit with them and come back to the board.
And make sure if we do this and take it in, that we also consider that there's going to be needed expenditures over a longer period of time too, for maintenance and upkeep.
Yep.
Sounds good to me.
Do they have a road association they're paying now?
I have not had that conversation with them.
Please ask them, find out how much that is.
Yep.
All right, commissioners, any other questions about this request?
Did they hear that we just did one? And this is what prompted the conversation, other than they need a lot of maybe maintenance or upgrades or whatever, and they're figuring that part out of it. But I mean, how did they come to contact you all on this?
We just received the petition signed out of the blue. I hadn't been contacted prior to this.
They're friends with somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody that did this on the other one.
Somebody got the word.
Yeah.
Just interesting. Go from having none to, now we're maybe in our ID era here at the county. Yep. Wonder if it's a sign of things to come.
You're curious. See if there's a bow wave.
Could be.
Well, what most likely happened, somebody in construction understood that it needed repairs, and then somebody was talking, like you said, talking to somebody and said, well, why doesn't we just have the county take it over? And so that's what they're looking for.
And commissioners, I know we've had this conversation before, but as a reminder, it's difficult, if not impossible, for homeowners association to obtain loans. So part of the reason for the RID is to be able to stretch those the cost of the project or the improvements over a longer period of time. Okay, well, that is all we had. Just a reminder that we've got an upcoming hearing to establish speed limits on the roads that were converted from our gravel roads. So Kelly Hall, Sunny Slope, and then also a portion of Brockdale as well.
And that's November 7th.
That is correct. Yeah, at 9:15. And then just a couple of other calendar items, commissioners. I'm not sure who all was on the receiving list, but the Project Blue Zones folks will be here at Public Works tomorrow between 9 and noon, and they will have an open house relating to infrastructure. So that's happening up here. And then just a big thank you for our meeting with our representatives, our legislative team on Friday. It was a real productive and engaging meeting, and most definitely appreciate you and Mark and Deb's support in facilitating the conversation.
It was a great meeting. I felt we accomplished a lot. And I felt that our legislators were very receptive. So yeah, the communication piece was was better than I thought it would be. So that was, appreciate everybody putting that together.
The best I can remember in many years, Commissioner. I agree with you.
Could we maybe just take a minute and maybe Mark, you can kind of just walk through what next steps you see in terms of submitting our priorities to the delegation, or kind of what role you're going to be playing with Deb over the next couple of months to get those in?
Yeah, it'll be with Deb and also with the commissioners. So I think that the clear message that we receive from our legislators are coming into a short session. So the quicker we can get them the information, the better. Getting it on the list early allows them to do some upfront work, ask any questions that they might have about some of our requests and the impact that those requests provide. I felt like it was a good educational opportunity for them to kind of really understand why Mason County is in the position that we're in with some of our utilities and some of the work that needs to be done, and why it's important to get the support from external sources like the state and if possible, the federal government. So what I'd like to do by the end of October is actually have a list from our utilities groups, kind of a prioritized list that documents the projects that we'd like to seek some outside funding for. I'll bring those projects back to the commissioners, and if approved by the commissioners, would submit them to Deb. And then Deb definitely does this amazing job of disseminating the information out. And it not only goes to our legislators, but it also gives Deb an opportunity to go and talk to other legislators that are outside of the districts included within Mason County to educate them about the importance of these requests. So I'm hopeful that by the end of the month that we're able to bring back some projects to put before the commissioners to approve to request in this year's legislative process.
Great. Thank you.
Loretta, are you on the same boat with that? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, absolutely. And Marissa will probably be jumping for joy because she has her deadline next week for all of our capital improvement plans. So this should be just a natural fallout out of that and meet her requirements as well.
Perfect.
On a different note, Loretta, I don't expect an update because we haven't talked on a lot for quite a while on it. Maybe it's done, maybe it's not. I haven't gone out to check, but a while back I contacted you in regards to, I think it was Victor Road, where the curb or the edges had fallen off and was becoming a danger issue, and there was a pothole. If you don't mind, if you could get me an update on that, or send somebody out there to look at it and see if it's all taken care of, or
Yep.
I'll try to, but
yeah, I'm not sure if Mike knows, but I know that we talked about this a while back.
Yes, it was on the list and it was supposed to get done. I cannot confirm it at this moment.
okay, thank you.
Yep. And that is all we have this morning, commissioners.
All right. Thank you. And thank you again for everything that you guys do.
Thank you.
All right, Mark, you're up.
Alrighty, I'm going to hand it over to Mary to talk about our non-rep positions.
Good morning. We have 2 administrative updates to make to the non-rep salary schedule. The first is to add the newly approved WIC coordinator certifier position to the salary schedule. And then also for a retitle of the elections superintendent to elections administrator. There's an assistant administrator, but there's no assistant superintendent. So we were trying to align our titling with other positions in the county. Attached is the resolution and where they fall on the salary schedule for previous approval.
Sounds good to me. Commissioners?
Yep, me as well.
It sounds good to me. I'm just still looking at a superintendent elections administrator concept if there happens to be a change in structure over there and how that might work, but I am supportive.
Just titling. No change in structure according to the
change
auditor
in
at this
structure,
time.
right?
No, we're looking at change in structure in budget.
Right. Thank you. The next one is lead pay. I had a couple additionals that came in after the deadline. One is for Tammy Wright in support services, and the other is for Thomas Gibbons in the assessor's office.
My question is always the same. If you've gone over it and it meets the criteria,
Yes, sir.
if you say it does, then I believe you and support it.
Yep, as do I. But there's still that thought in my head that if they're still leads and they've been leads for a while, does that merit a change in their description?
I don't believe that it would fit at this time.
Okay.
Mary, just curious, you said these were received after the deadline.
Correct.
Was there a reason why?
I don't know. People are really busy, I'm sure.
I'm supportive.
All right, thank you. That's all I have this morning.
Sorry, I was looking at them. And Tammy Wright position, that was one that we just recently did, I believe. So, Nicole, defense and indemnification coverage.
Yes, good morning. So I'm just requesting to approve to go on tomorrow's agenda for approval for a request for defense and indemnification for a recent case we received for the named defendants that work for Mason County and or represent Mason County.
Good with me.
Yep, me too.
Thank you.
Same with me.
Yeah.
Good morning, commissioners. The first thing that I have for you is a 2024 vehicle take-home request for Erin Tesh. She is in the sheriff's office, and she's a new employee, so that's why this one is coming later than the other take-home requests that you received last month. So this is not a new position. She's replacing somebody that left. So we're just asking for her vehicle to be approved.
Sounds good to me.
Me also.
Same with me.
Great, thank you. So those will go on, all of them on the October 24th action agenda then for approval. The next thing that I have is the purchasing and contracting policy. That is a work in progress. So we just wanted to bring this to you, get any feedback from the commission. This has been circulated through the audit committee and also countywide, and I've gotten some feedback countywide, and we've circulated it through SAO as well and gotten a few suggested changes which have not been incorporated into the policy yet. So I can share this if you would like, or just talk about it.
You left off that it's also gone through the audit committee, and the audit committee had a vote and sent it over at a vote of 3-1.
Yes. And I have ran it through Tim Whitehead as well, and he had a couple of comments, and he was going to continue to go through it, so he might have more comments as we go along. But I'll share it so you can see it. Okay, so the comments that Tim had were on the general procurement and contracting policy, section A3. So all offices and departments must use a written contract for purchases of goods and services over $10,000 for all public works and for all leases. So he was questioning the $10,000 and whether that amount was too small. But after talking to Mark, we came up with that a purchase order is a contract or can constitute as a contract. So I'm suggesting that we put in here, all offices and departments must use a written contract for purchases of goods and services as stated in attachment A, and a purchase order constitutes a contract or something along those lines. Which again, I need to run by Tim. The other comment that he had was on 8.1 under the general procurement and contracting policy. All contracts entered into by an office or department following a formal bidding or competitive request for proposals. So he was just saying that maybe we should put as stated in attachment A in there. I have gotten some feedback about the grant applications. So we're suggesting that grant applications, new grant applications would come to the board, recurring don't need to, something along those lines. And did you have anything you wanted to add on that, Mark?
No, I just think I guess what I was discussing with Jen this morning was the importance of those initial, the initial approval by the board to apply for a grant is often grants have future financial obligations that the county would incur. So I think that this is a good example of this. I think in the past we used to have COPS grants. And the COPS grants would fund a position within your sheriff's department for 3 years. But the assumption would be that once the funding was gone, that the county would retain that position. So my concern, and I think the board's concern after discussions with them, would be that if we had individual electeds applying for grants that had these future financial obligations, then it may become a difficult discussion 2 or 3 years down the road when the funding dries up and they come back to the general fund for a contribution to continue those services in the future, when the commissioners didn't understand or know that they had obligated the county in that manner.
Right, and I do know that this has been a topic that's brought up at WASAC quite often, because it does happen, and it's not just our county that it happens in, it's quite a few, especially when there's a legislative change or something like that. So us being the I guess the carriers of the purse, we do need to understand what the county is obligated for.
Well, and we're more than even the carrier of the purse. We're the ones of which obligation stands on the shoulders of. I want to remind you, a great example would be in roads. There's monies that are available for, I'm trying to think of the name of it, something streets, but there has to be a requirement when you apply for these monies that you will also do other things as well and create policies that you may not have. There are always strings attached to it, but the thing is if you're going to obligate the county at anything, the county needs to be aware of it and always have. But I want to point out one other thing, that this is this policy, but isn't there already a requirement in another policy for grant applications?
There is. It's in the financial policy, and the financial policy states that all grants must come before the board.
So this just realigns it with what a policy we already have and have had for quite some time.
Yes.
I thought it was really interesting in some of the threads that I was included on in discussing this. A lot of people being proponents of these sort of separation of powers, and I feel like I'm back in my American government class teaching about checks and balances and separation of powers and executive branch functions and legislative branch functions. But the reality of these things are just what kind of each commissioner and Mark and Jennifer kind of laid out, in that when funding dries up, where do people go?
The board.
The commission. And and I think there has to be some sort of check and balance on some of these contracts, and I think we're pretty open to contract discussions or grant discussions. I think we've always been, you know, if it's something that benefits the county and those departments. I want to caution people from going down this path of exerting executive versus legislative functions, because when the rubber meets the road, it always leads back to having to have a conversation with the board about how we handle things going forward. And I don't like to see things done, along those lines. And so we'll continue the conversation here, but I thought that was an interesting element that was kind of creeping up in discussions around this policy, and just something that kind of gave me some concerns.
Well, and as you know, in the creation of the commission structure, we are the ones that are the ones who in debt or sign on behalf of the county. Now we can delegate others to sign on our behalf, and that are a vote of us to empower people to sign on our behalf, but we're the ones that take on the responsibility and sign on behalf of the county. It's not just something that anybody and everybody gets. Right. It's something that we're elected to, and purposely, on purpose, there's more than one person doing that. I don't think it's an accident there's 3 commissioners compared to, one person in another elected position that thinks that they understand. We already know that that doesn't happen, that sometimes they do go for things and it wasn't proper. So we saw it as commission. We pointed out that it has to go out for bid or other things. And I want to point out that some of those same arguments I've seen, I'm sad to say, but if you went out for a grant already and did not bring it by the commission, you violated the policy, because the policy already exists, not this one. You violated the other policy. So please remember that. It's not that we want to fight this one here. You already violated the other policy if you went after a grant and did not inform the commission and bring it before the commission. And if you violate the policy, we have to answer that to the state auditor. That's a whole nother discussion, but that's our reality.
Well, I think to even, follow on with that, I completely agree with what you just said, but I also think, like, the alternative then is you figure it out within your budget authority.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I mean, that itself is not a collaborative way to approach things when a simple conversation could have been had, at the front end. We've had to deal with that a number of times where we've had to make adjustments or had to hear out, the dialogue because there wasn't the right amount of collaboration that went in on the front end of things. Mm-hmm. And that's not, there shouldn't be a policy that guides, working collaboratively on things, but, that's the intent of all of this, is so that there is some shared understanding and, and so, yeah, completely agree with what you're saying, Commissioner.
Well, one of the arguments I've heard is that because they have bottom line authority on some of the budgets, but I want to remind everybody that the bottom line authority is also a policy that we have created through the commission to basically allow them to stay within a certain framework or structure. We have the authority and we have the ability to have a complete line item budget if that was our choice, but we're delegating authorities to stay within those line items. But we could have every single line item if we chose. That's within our authority and our powers. It's not smart. Right now we separate it with wages and maintenance and operation and wages, but when people say that it's their right, I just want to remind them it's not. It's a delegated right, because we have instituted that bottom line authority. It's not delegated by the state constitution, that bottom line authority.
And it's also not just 3 commissioners that are setting this. It's a policy that's accepted in I would say most of the counties that I've met with, or that come to WASAC. So this isn't, I wouldn't say that this is us trying to work together and just making sure that we understand what's going on in offices. I do see Steve with his hand up. Steve.
Oh, hey, I'm one of the ones who have been bringing the separation of powers issue to the forefront, and I'm the one vote of the audit committee that voted against the policy as it was then drafted for that very reason. And I'm also one who's absolutely in favor of, supportive of, encouraging of keeping the Board of County Commissioners briefed and informed and coordinated with. But that's different than ceding away authority, whether it's been previously delegated through approved budgets and whatnot or not. I just think that it's really important that we not lose sight of that. And that's why I continue to bring up the topic. And Jen, I appreciate the revisions that you've made in the last update to attachment A. I think that the suggested revisions that come from Judge Steele are important to incorporate also. And I would add that we should include the executive branch in that. So no, I'm not saying if people are free to run wild. Randy, you and I've had a number of conversations around that. It's important that we all keep each other informed of who's doing what and when we're doing it and how we're doing it. Coordination is different than approval, and approval falls in the domain of separation of powers, and that's the important distinction.
All right, so Jen, after Tim reviews this will come back to us again.
Yes, so there is one more very small change. So Kelly Metcalf had called me on Friday about the wording in item 10 here. Oh no, I'm sorry, it's 11. Oh, the small works, this needs to be taken out because we have different rosters that are not all small works. So I'll make that change as well, one of the county rosters. And then the SAO had a couple of suggested changes. They had said for the architecture and engineering portion of section B 2.2. So this isn't really a policy exception. So I need to find maybe somewhere else for this to go within the policy. And then under piggybacking, the interlocal agreement is required. And so we need to state that in the policy. And they said also with using DES, there's a separate RCW. So I need to reference that RCW. So those few changes. And then I want to look at maybe doing a little bit more rearranging to make this a little bit easier to follow, looking for any duplication of wording that we can kind of maybe make it not so cumbersome because it's a little overwhelming for people to look at this and try to follow it. So I'll just be looking for.
So are there sections that you could put, reference to the finance policy or something like that? Because if we're duplicating words or sections or policies, I don't know, do we reference that?
I do have that referenced a few places in here, the financial policy. But yeah, I'll take another closer look and see if we can maybe make it a little more simple. I mean, it's difficult to do. I feel like of all of the policies that I looked at, I mean, this is pretty simple compared to a lot of them are really wordy and complex. Because purchasing is very complex. And I just want to point out too, I mean, we added into the scope here, and this is normally stated in the resolution where we adopt the policy, but since there's been so much talk from the auditor about the separation of powers, I thought it was important to reference that the Board of Mason County Commissioners has the care of the county property and the management of the county funds and business per RCW 3632-120. and that this policy does apply to all elected officials, directors, employees, so all branches of government. And that was at the recommendation of the SAO as well, that it apply to all offices and departments, that we don't make any branch exempt from the policy, except where by law. So, I mean, there's portions of purchasing that don't apply to the courts because of a certain law, and that's stated within this policy as well. So yeah, I'll be bringing this back after we add those items in, and look for anything that we can consolidate a little bit.
All right, sounds good. So will you be bringing this back on next Monday, or do you want a couple of weeks?
I think a couple of weeks would be better, just so we can make sure it's really fine tuned. And I want to make sure that all three of you are here for this also.
Oh, that's right. Good plan.
Okay, so anything else on the policy before we move on to budget?
Just to be clear, we currently have, in lieu of this, we do have policies in place that govern this type of work, so that it's clear to everybody who's on here that there already are other policies that are in place that have a say over how purchasing and contracting work in the county. That we can take a little bit more time and work on this, but there already is a policy that we're confident would cover this in the interim.
Yes, we do have a purchasing policy already in place. It just is in desperate need of updating. And I don't remember the exact resolution number, but it was adopted in 2016.
Great, thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, so here is the budget for 2024, the proposed budget. And I did make a few changes from what's in your packet, commissioners. I added in the 2%, the non-union adjustment that was adopted already. And the total impact dollar amount of that is $115,347. So that is included in the maintenance level budget. And some of the items that I wanted to talk about that happened since last week. So we received an email from MRSC that the implicit price deflator is above 1%. So we don't need to do a resolution of substantial need. And that's no surprise because inflation has been pretty high. So, you know, if inflation is under 1%, then we would have to do a resolution of substantial need in order to bank or use up to that 1%. So we don't need to worry about that this year. Even though we're not taking a 1% for property tax, we can still bank that amount. So, and then the mental health tax revenue. So last week I had stated that it was going to be 2 million, and I made an error on that. It actually should be 1.21 million. So, you know, just off 800,000. So, no big deal. I mean, we weren't using it for anything but an example, but so the mental health tax revenue, I'll change, or I did change that in here to 1.21 million. The reclass that the auditor briefed on earlier for the 2 financial analysts to the senior financial analysts, I'll include that amount, approximately $11,570. That is not included in this this budget, this proposed budget, so I'll add that in. On Friday, I went over with the clerk his revenue, and it looks like there's about 60,500 that we were both comfortable adding in. On the Blake, it looks like there's about, Charles is estimating $12,000 for Blake reimbursements that happened prior to that June 21st date for next year. So I haven't seen any, you know, the actual detail on that, but that's a pretty reasonable amount, so I would be comfortable adding that in as an expenditure and a revenue. And then an additional $20,000 in revenue for Blake's that happened after that June 21st date, where the expenditure is already budgeted. So that would be a total of $32,000 for the Blake. So if you're comfortable with that, commissioners, we can add that into maintenance. I'm comfortable with it. So
I am comfortable with it. I talked to Charles and he appreciated that you worked with him to come up with numbers that would be happy and comfortable all the way around. So I am in favor of moving with your changes over to maintenance.
Great. And then so the rest of that is 60,500 minus the 32,000. So the total being 60,500 in revenue. And I don't know that you want to go over the detail of that. I can just add that in.
If you're comfortable with it after all the work you just put into it, I personally am comfortable.
As am I.
Same here.
Thank you. And then on the expenditure side of things, so we have the Blake 12,000 plus we received the copier rental agreement and with the maintenance fee, I'm comfortable with the 5,000 that Charles is asking for the copier maintenance. So that would, his PLR is 2,500. There's already 2,500 budgeted. And so, yeah, I'm comfortable with increasing that to 5,000 if you are, commissioners.
I am.
Yep.
Okay.
Great. And then therapeutic courts, we were already briefed on that. They're rescinding their request for additional mental health tax funding. And so right now, our total from ending fund balance in 2024 in the general fund is approximately $6,258,981 plus that those changes that I'll make to the clerk's office, and then the 11,570 for the auditor's office. We have approved $514,375 in PLRs, and there's still $2,021,393 outstanding in PLR requests, and the revenue request we already just talked about. The special funds, I included the amounts moved to PLRs for utilities and waste and public works. And so we've approved 3.3 million for their policy level requests. Oh, I forgot to remove that amount last time. So they have no PLRs for their expenditures right now. And then the FTE requests, I consolidated that for you. So I can send this to you and we can go over each one now, or however you want to do that, commissioners.
Commissioners, do you have a preference?
Yeah, first, for the future, if you don't mind, I can do the work, but if you wouldn't mind doing it for me, if you go back a couple pages showing how much we have over budget, yeah, there you go, right there. If you could show me what we did at last year at closing of budget at that same line amount, I would appreciate it.
Okay, I can email that.
Yeah, I think I would like to see that as well.
Okay. And actually, that is included on here. It's just hidden.
And that's all of this is in our files, right? Our electronic files.
Yes. Well, this actual copy is not included in there.
Okay, so 5 and 4.5. So for me, just sharing with the commissioners, that's the difference where I'm looking at, which I do think we do need to spend down some of our ending fund balance. We know that we continued to go up at that rate this is too simplistic the way I'm saying it, but we continue to go up at that rate, but I don't think we're going to go up as much this year as we did with the last year. So it's splitting the baby a little bit. That's a bummer because that's before those other positions. That's probably where we need to be if we're going to break even. Well, okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. Sorry to get you guys to go back. I just needed those numbers in my head to realize what I think a bow wave is going to look like. Because even though that number is there, that's not the real bow wave.
Okay, so I'll send this to you, the updated version. Did you want to go through the FTE request right now, or think about that and come back to it?
I'll throw in a few things. We all know how I feel about the animal control and how I want to be able to put something like that together. But the truth of the matter is, commissioners, we're almost in the egg and the chicken type situation. I don't know that I'm ready to see us add those positions into a budget when we're not in a position to do this yet with agreements and stuff. But at the same time, we almost need you to say we need to look at it and, you know, offline look at what empowerments we want to have to try and negotiate and see if these things can even happen. We're just in that in-between stage. If we throw it in there, that's fine, but we may not come to the same type of agreements, and that's a huge adjustment when we're not quite ready yet. So if we didn't do it, we might look at doing it if we are able to pull off an agreement and work things out, keeping in mind that we'd still want to probably throw that in to the first supplemental or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable moving forward until we have some answers to some of the questions that we do have, or and further communication with the city also.
Yeah, I would agree. I think we're getting close, but it's a huge investment to make, and there's a lot of details associated with it. And so I want to give Mark the opportunity to track down some of the questions that we had out of the conversation last week. And, that way I think we can put together a plan that is realistic and sets the right expectation for the community. We don't necessarily need to rush into something right now. We can revisit it when we have a little bit more detail.
I think we're all in agreement there then.
I think as I look at the FTE request list, I'll just kind of give you an idea of where I'm at right now with things. I would definitely be supportive of the grant writer position because I think ultimately that ends up being revenue neutral. And I trust that we'll be able to manage it in that way. I would be supportive of adding a sheriff's deputy at this point, one FTE, and really not much beyond that, simply because I think we do have some catching up to do in terms of the contract settling. I'm even kind of not nervous, but I mean a little bit cautious about adding the FTE and the patrol deputy request, just because we're still working towards a resolution there, and I want to make sure that we're not overextending ourselves. But I think at this point, I'm really only supportive of adding those two positions as things stand today.
And as for me, I agree with you on one sheriff deputy. I agree with you on the grant writer. The other ones that are down there, we'd have to wait and see if it's even something to do. We are tight on money. I do want to say that under the auditor's office, the chief deputy would, if in the way I'm seeing it in my head, if the auditor would be willing to do it, and if the commission would agree to consolidate maybe the elections position into a chief deputy position, not backfilling elections, because they should take it underneath as part of the duties. And this way it would almost be like a reclass. And so you may be looking at about 30,000 or so, maybe 40, but 30, I think, if we were to allow that to happen, if the auditor was open to that idea. I also still believe in the clerical and the prosecutor's office. that was a very, I was not a supporter until I was explained, and the way that was explained to me, I was very, very, very swayed. This is probably the only way we're going to be able to relieve some of the pressure in that office. At the very minimum, I think we should do one. I think we should do two, but I think we should do one in that one. So I guess the only thing that I'm not disagreeing. I'm actually agreeing with what you said, but with an addition of maybe one clerical in prosecution and a reclassification of elections superintendent, whatever they're calling it now, into a position of chief deputy, so that they would have one in that office, and it would not be a full FTE, but it would be a reclass that would still have a cost of approximately $30,000.
Yeah, my thoughts are I'd like for HR to take a look at maybe your suggestion there to see if that would to see where we would be with that one. But so when I was talking to Mark last week, the grant writer is a definite in my thought process. I could go with one deputy also, and then one clerical. But I'd also like for us to take a look at parks, because we've got some big changes coming there fairly soon. And so I just want to make sure that we've got support for our folks that are going to be around. I think the transition in that department has got me on alert.
So we're actually all pretty close. So let me ask a question on the parks, because Kevin didn't say anything about parks at all, neither did I, but I can see where you're talking. Mark and Jennifer, can we look at how that could, we've done it in the past, how we could utilize that position out of REIT?
Yeah, we can absolutely look at that. I can talk with Bud and kind of get an idea of the amount of work that would qualify for that second quarter % of the real estate excise tax.
So I'm going to, if Commissioner Trask, if we can find a way to take it out of REIT, I can be in agreement with you on that position. If not, I'll need to have more conversation. I agree with you though, 100%. It's needed. The question is can we afford it? But you are right. There's some things that are coming up and happening, and there's a lot of things that we know that we've fallen short. We're trying to actually get part-time people to do it. Now, this would also be partially offset because of the part-time person we're doing away with, correct? Did I understand that? Okay. So the amount is actually less than what we're showing here. So I'm open to that one. The other one, back on the chief deputy one again, I wanted to remind the commission that we are aware that there is a position that has to change, if I'm not misunderstanding, that has been doing management work as a union employee, and that has to change. So with that, they're having a shortfall on management and the ability to do management duties. That's one of the reasons why I would be so supportive of that shift if the auditor would be open to it. But other than that, I'm agreeing with all of you on the other. I'm curious what Kevin thinks about the maintenance and what Kevin thinks about the chief deputy aspect.
I'll take the maintenance first. I mean, I was definitely on the fence with that. I didn't say anything because I just prioritized the other two ahead of it. But if there is a way to manage it in part or in total through REIT, then I would be on board with that as an alternative. On the chief deputy request, I mean, we also have in the PLRs there reclass requests for 11 different positions, and I'll just be candid. I'm not real sure that it's clear what direction the auditor's office is needing to go in terms of classification and staffing and those kinds of things. And so I'm not convinced that this position is ripe yet for us including it in the budget. And so I think there's more discussion that needs to be had regarding the office. And again, we just wrapped up an entire discussion about a purchasing policy where a lot of it hinged on separation of powers, and so I'm hesitant to tell the auditor or make recommendations to the auditor about any of these things. I think it would probably benefit him to work closely with HR on figuring out a path forward. But I think because of there not being because it's not clear to me the direction that the office is going to head, I would rather let some of those things settle out first and address this with a position later.
Okay. And I understand that. I myself, how I took those 11 reclasses in budget as a nothing burger, it was in the wrong place. I don't think we should be handling it in that process. I don't know why it was included in there, and I do think it muddied the water. So maybe we can have some more conversations with the chief or with the auditor and see if it is something that he even wants. I don't even know that he wants it the way I'm.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I don't think it was appropriate to include those in the budget, which also raises in my mind, do they really know what they want or need? If this is the path that was taken. So I do have my concerns there. Won't beat a dead horse. We'll see how it plays out, but I think there's definitely room for more discussion.
So just so from my books, what I'm writing down here to clarify, we each agree on one deputy. We each, we didn't. Commissioner Schutte, clerical. Right now, I think we both, Sharon and myself, were interested in adding one clerical at the minimum. Would you be okay with that?
I'd like to wait and see how the analysis comes back on the parks maintenance for REIT before I commit.
No, I meant clerical for prosecutors.
100%. No, I know.
Okay.
I'm saying if the maintenance position could be covered out of REIT, then that might influence my thinking on the prosecutor.
Gotcha. And my thinking on the maintenance is based on REIT too. So so with my thing. So I guess we'll look and see what comes on there, and then we're waiting to find out if maintenance can handle the addition through REIT, because that's all it would be, is actually the addition, because we're already spending that fund. So we need to separate that out, Mark, so that we can do it the same. Grant writer, and then we're looking for future discussions on chief deputy. Is that what I understand? Did I miss anything?
I think that's in a nutshell.
Okay, so I will go through and put in your comments in here and who is in support of what position. Right now, I'm hearing the sheriff deputy, one of them, yes. Grant writer, one, yes. And then the clerical, so 2 commissioners are in support of that. So I will plug those numbers into the maintenance level at this time. And then we can look at maybe removing that if one of you changes your mind.
So yes, just in my mind, to share with the commissioner, what I'm seeing is something that would have a future bow wave if we did all of the above of one sheriff, one clerical, one maintenance that goes actually to REIT money, so that it doesn't actually affect our bow wave. Financial analysts, or excuse me, the grant writer, and then it would be about 320, about 350 if the chief deputy ends up being included as a reclass, so to speak. So a bow wave, so you look at maybe 380 the next year, 425.
So I'm only hearing on the chief deputy from one commissioner, so I'm not going to.
No, I don't include that in there. I'm just sharing my numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm including that in my head when I'm saying, when I start talking 350, I'm including that. 320 without it is what I said.
Okay. So yeah, I'll go back and make notes, share this with you, and include what it would be with those positions added in.
Yeah.
And just to note, I think all 3 commissioners verified some concern about if, we're having to settle the current contract that we are with our deputies guild, and what does that impact look like, and then having to factor that into the decision of adding a deputy. Is that correct?
Actually, I at the sound reasoning, I hadn't thought of it, but that is a sound reasoning, because that's going to be a huge uptick. But
well, it could be. I mean, we don't know yet. So that's the
Right.
part that that's yet to be determined, but I thought I did hear that from at least two of the commissioners.
Yeah, I'd like to wait to see where we're at too. I would love to give them another sheriff's deputy, but at the same point in time, I worry about where we're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the cost of our payroll in the sheriff's office is about $4 million a year in the general fund. So that's, you know, any impact to that is going to impact that bottom line $6 million number that Jen was referring to earlier.
Yeah, currently right now, their total sheriff's office total, isn't that close to 16,600,000? That could easily be over 17 million when everything is said and done, or with adding the positions and stuff. So something to
the salaries and benefits for 2023 are 12,160,000
yeah.
roughly. For the
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, with a total budget of 16, is it 16.6? Or because we just added more stuff, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Where are we at total budget with what we have right now before adding a position or taking in raises?
So right now for them, I'm going to go to the consolidated. So we are at 12. Oh, sorry, that's 2023. 12,596,810.
Huh? That's salaries. I'm talking about the total. So the total now is up to 16,831,000, and that doesn't count in left or special funds. So with if you add one officer and the vehicle and the like, we're going to be well over 17. And that doesn't count wage increases.
Correct.
Yeah, the left
You know, commissioners, when I came in, the budget was for the sheriff's office. When I came in, the total budget was like 10 million.
So this doesn't have anything to do with the increases for left over here, the left one.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't increase if the contract is increased. I just
No, I know that. I keep their budget in my head in three separate things. Left, I keep it for special funds, and it used to be boating fund. It used to be narcotics. But it's put into special funds and general fund. And then we still have the other part that we have to keep track of, which is part of the road fund. Moving over from road fund monies, traffic policing.
Yeah, and we've kept that really constant. I mean, and last year we reduced it in half to 1,080,000.
Yeah.
And same this year, we have 1,080,000 in road diversion budgeted for 2024 in the proposed budget.
And that's rolled up though in the 16.8 million.
Yeah, the expense stays the same I mean, it is what it is in the sheriff's expenditures. The revenue is included in the treasurer's revenue here.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. So right now, without any changes that we talked about today, the total budget is proposed at 181,820,469 for revenue and expense. That includes all beginning and ending fund balances as well.
So commissioners, do you want to take some of those ones off the list so we don't look at them again? Or you want to keep looking at them?
You mean some of the FTEs?
Yeah.
I would just, I would leave the ones that I would remove everything that wasn't specifically mentioned by one of the three commissioners. So
I agree. So that would leave chief deputy position, grant writer position, maintenance, one clerical, one deputy. That's it. Right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, for the folks out there that are listening, I don't think that the commission is saying that animal control is not an option or an issue right now. It's just not in this part of the budget. What we are saying is we cannot be with good conscience be putting this stuff into budget, creating something that we're not ready to do yet if we don't have the partners and we don't have the right knowledge of whether we're going to be able to pull it off together or not this year. So, but we are still looking at it, still open-minded, and hoping that something comes of this. Did I couch that right, commissioners?
Yeah, I mean, I think it needs a little bit more detail, but we're definitely committed to continuing down the path towards animal control.
Right. I don't think that we all support it. We just want to make sure that what we do is the best thing for the county, and that that all of our partners are in it with us.
Just for laughs, I want to thank the commission. This is the most structured and understood budget amongst commissioners that are looking at it that I've ever been a part of since I've been here. I believe everybody sees it and is participating and understands it, and it's been a real joy to work with you all this year. I just wanted to say that because I actually think it, and I forget to let it come out my lips sometimes.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm happy to take credit, but a ton of credit goes to Jennifer and Mark and team. I mean, and I think too, like when we get into this, we just need to be, clear and transparent about what it is that we think are the priorities, and it's uncomfortable probably for everybody who has to sit and listen to us go through it, but that's the best path forward. And it's not because we don't value these other positions or don't see needs or anything like that. It's just we have to be realistic and prioritize, and that's what comes with the territory here. So I think we've worked really well on it, and Jennifer's kind of kept us in line, which is how we like it.
Yeah, I was going to say pretty much the same thing there too, because all of these positions are important. It's not that we don't think that they're not important.
Yeah. One to throw out there is
of the money, and that we're making sure that Mason County is well supported.
Well, and the proof is in the pudding. Look at our numbers. Look what we've done. Literally, I mean, any other county would dream to be in the position that we were at. I did want to throw one thing out to district court. There was discussions of succession planning. I still am open to ideas of succession planning when the time comes. I just think that it was early for that discussion. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Right, and I also want to get them into their building. I think that should be one of our priorities as well, and I know it is for all of the commission, and for many others. So yeah, the message to district court is we value you. We want to get you in your building.
The other thing I wanted to add, I think one of the things that we've done that has been really beneficial to the whole process is every year we try to get better at this, and I think we have. And I think one of the ways that we can improve our process on the FTE requests is having some front end conversations between offices and HR to maybe establish some data or metrics around the request, so that that might make all the difference in our decision making, and it would certainly, I think, help our process and help our thinking about all of these requests. And so I think Mark and Jennifer, I'd like to have you work a little bit with Mary heading into 2024 about how we can maybe pitch that to the offices to get a little bit more engagement on the front end and some clear metrics about the need or what we're measuring in terms of the request and that kind of thing. I think that would help improve this even more.
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up, because when they were in my office, that's exactly what we talked about.
Yeah, so that's something that I've been discussing with both Jen and Mary, is what does that process look like, right? I mean, I think sometimes it's difficult to HR super busy. So adding additional things onto their plate is something that we try and protect a little bit. So knowing if the commission is willing to entertain a change or a new position is helpful. Because then if they are, then we can actually have HR jump in and do that work. But I do think that there definitely needs to be that coordination between HR and budget, because Jen is the one that does, I mean, Jen's the one that puts together the numbers of what is an FTE cost, you know, after we get a potential job description and classification from HR, then Jen throws those numbers into her model that then can tell us what does that cost look like. And I think that's all information that the board needs to understand before making a decision. So I'm glad to hear that the commissioners are supportive of that. And I do think that that's something that we can put some processes in place to make it better and more accurate.
And realize this may not be pretty, we may have some people that are upset at us right now, but we did what we're always hesitant to do. We made some of the hardest decisions just now, and we made it this early. That really makes a difference, as we're going to pinpoint and see if we can fix and finalize the last pieces we have of it. There is not a lot sitting out there. That shows we also knew what we were doing, in my opinion, too. Great job, everybody.
Okay, so do we want to talk about when we're going to bring the next proposed budget for 24 back to the board? I don't know when the next opportunity is that you'll all be together. I'm thinking it's November. I remember.
I thought it was October 20 something.
Well, yeah, if we do it on the 23rd.
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. I can probably, yeah, I can do that on the 23rd.
And it should be fairly easy if we get to this point. If we can knock out these last few things, the only thing, some of the questions like on this will be, were we able to take maintenance out of REIT? If that's yes, and it sounds like we have one clerical, and I think we're still at one deputy, grant writer, and then the last conversation would be around chief deputy at the auditor, and most of the other stuff you already have done, right, Jen? Everything, there ain't anything hanging out much in the forms of requests in the body, is there?
No, I mean, not, there's no additional FTE requests. There was a couple of follow-up items that were asked of the sheriff's office, I believe. I think I put it in the notes. It was about the computers, I believe, for the vehicles.
So I think that we could probably revisit that on the 23rd, because I think some of this will be a topic of discussion at the IT steering committee this week. So we might have some maybe helpful information for the commission out of that.
I'm supportive. That's what we were hoping for when we talked, is that it would go to them and we'd have these little further discussions with the recommendation and see where we go.
Great, so I'll bring this back on the 23rd, and then the only other open item would be fixing the property tax. And I'll be working with Sierra on that, Sierra and the assessor's office.
You mean fixing the actual rate?
Yeah.
Okay, because I think we all agreed that we were not interested in taking the automatic 1%.
No, but we still need to match up the resolutions to the budget. So we just don't have that information at this point. So we'll do the best that we can on that. But yeah, we're really far ahead, I feel like, from previous years.
Yep.
So great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We inch closer and closer to perhaps an October adoption some year.
Yes, that would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I'm down. Let's do it. Let's just put that. Let's put the notification out today.
Goals for next year. Okay, thank you.
And I do think that is the opportunity, just to mention that process, right? So as we go for formal action on the budget, then there is an opportunity for comment on the public budget during that period of time. And so we would hear from citizens or potentially other separately elected officials that want to comment on it, so that there's an opportunity there for them.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep.
All right, so that brings us to the end. Do we have any further commission discussion? We do have our meeting tomorrow morning.
I don't think I have anything.
Nope, I'm good.
I don't think we added too much to the agenda either.
Couple quick items.
I tried. Just kidding.
We do. I think we added the insurance, and then potentially one other item. What was it?
Reclass.
Reclass.
Reclass, and then the indemnification.
Yep. Or indemnification. Excuse me.
Yep.
Risk management. Yep.
Yep.
Great.
And
Thank you.
Also, are we also adding the therapeutic courts grant to tomorrow?
We probably could, since we're already adding 2 other things.
I see that half smile, Mark. What does that mean?
Nothing. I mean, I hear Mackenzie in the back of my head.
Yeah, and in the front of your office.
Well, that'll come after the meeting when I open my door back up. But yes, we can do that.
Paddy, if Paddy is still on here, I don't know if that was the request or not. I wasn't saying we were. I was asking if we were.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Of course. All right.
Well, Madam Chair, I move we adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we're adjourned. See everybody at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.